Hello and welcome to White Centipede Noise Podcast, where we give language to noise. I'm Oscar Brummel, and today we have a special episode. 2026 just began, so I asked all of our Patreon supporters and previous guests to tell me what their noise resolutions for 2026 are. Without further ado, here's Joe Romer.
My noise goals for 2026 is to stay very angry, very loud, and to just stay alive. Because in the country right now, that's getting harder and harder every day. But I wish everybody a great year. Stay active, stay political, stay angry.
What's up, White Centipede Noise family? This is Jackson of Commuter, Haircrap, Junta Cadre, those projects. What does 2026 hold for me in noise? I'm still kind of fresh off the heels of the Commuter Tokyo Pure Decadence LP that came out at the end of last year on Phage Tapes. I think that one kind of showcased where the project is at, where the sound is at, how I want my noise to sound. I've been focusing on these site-specific, very complex and time-consuming harsh noise albums, which I kind of think lets at least Commuter really thrive and show the best of my abilities of where I'm at with noise right now. They are very demanding and time-consuming, but I think I kind of thrive within those restraints of letting it just flesh itself out to the fullest of my ability. So they are very time-consuming, though. So I'm hoping that I am able to start writing and recording the next full-length this year, and maybe have it out by the end of the year. But then again, my noise writing process has gotten very time-consuming, like I said, but I do kind of love that at the same time. So I do have a label lined up that I'm super excited to work with. Been wanting to work with them for a long time, so I at least have something in mind that I'm working towards right now. I want to start recording for that this year, very soon. I kind of have the idea mostly honed in. It might require me traveling somewhere pretty far away if I keep going with the site-specific concept works. But I've also kind of been toying with the idea of breaking free from that just for an album, giving myself a little more freedom to work within just making noise for the sake of making noise and kind of putting the concept aside for a little bit. So we'll see what direction I go in with that. And if I just kind of go with a more loose approach that's not completely reliant on concept this time. And then as far as other things in the pipeline, a couple compilation tracks that I've been asked to submit for compilations this year. I think 2 in total right now. It'll be a fun way to just kind of dip my toes back into noise making, and to get something just on the books, this year that'll be a little less demanding and a little more just fun and, less time consuming to make. Otherwise, I do want to start tackling another Haircrat album at some point, and kind of break free of the really synth-heavy, synth-reliant driven sound of the last stuff and take it more in just a direction of like pure harsh noise, power electronics, just vocals over harsh noise. I think that could be really fun and a way to reinvigorate that project a little bit, kind of how the very first albums of that project were. So that's kind of an idea I've been toying around with otherwise. But yeah, I hate to be the promo guy, but that Commuter Tokyo Pure Decadence LP came out on Phage at the end of the year and kind of showcases exactly where the project's at right now. The sound that I've honed in over several years of working on that project so hard with so much passion. Check that one out if you have not heard it. It's kind of the best showcase of all my abilities that I'm bringing to noise right now and what I want to carry into the next Commuter album, which hopefully, I really get a good head start on this year, and maybe even by the end of the year have an announcement for a release. Anyway, I hope all your noise dreams and resolutions come true this year, and I will catch you later.
Hello there, I'm Emiliano, an artist from Argentina, but currently based on Asturias, Spain. And my project is called Spirit Flesh. You can find on Bandcamp as Spirit Flesh 93. So first of all, I will say that I'm not a pure noise artist, but I usually make noise tracks between my regular synth work. I also did a lot of noise stuff for visual art too. So yeah, my main approach for noise was always using collage, basically. So getting sounds from different sources and yeah, and do some kind of collage with that using the computer. So I also generate noise in a more regular way using things like mix and pedals and so on. So yeah, but this year I want to do noise tracks using sample machines, basically like this one, like the Pocket Operator, or that one, the KO2. I usually work with radio transmission noise, mainly from shortwave frequencies. I get those sounds using this kind of receivers, like this one or this one. So I like to get radio transmissions from distant places with a lot of noise, and I work with that. So I want to use this stuff in order to get some samples and work with it, basically. So the thing is that I want to include this new stuff, this new sample-based noise or similar to my new album. I want to release a cassette this year. So yeah, basically I want to do that this year with noise. So that's me. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Jim Haynes. My noise resolutions for 2026 certainly include getting in the studio more, making more noise, making more compositions. I am currently working on a double 10-inch that will be for Drone Records. Stefan doesn't necessarily know it's going to be a double LP, but I'm giving him that amount of material. I have a record that is forthcoming on Cloister that is finished. There is a album that is forthcoming on Ash International. That was finished last year. Hopefully that'll come out in 2026. And I will be working on some live material for some shows in Copenhagen and hopefully Vilnius in Lithuania. Currently, I have a couple of leads on the Lithuania gig, but if anybody wants to see me perform there, hit me up. It is always difficult to get in the studio more because of any number of factors that limit my ability to get into the studio. First and foremost being that the label that I run, the Helen Scarsdale Agency, has been quite busy. This year, there will be an album from Cindy Talk, albums from Alice Kemp, Bob Bellarue, Himocult, Murmur, that's the Estonian project from Patrick McGinley, the American expat, not the noise Murmur. They are spelled differently, as you probably know. And let's see, I Can Feel and Small Cruel Party, and there might be another one that I'm missing in there, to which if you are on that list, I apologize. all of those things take up a considerable amount of time, packing the orders, dealing with distribution, all the things that it takes to run the label. And I also have considerable amount of responsibilities on the where I live. I live in the forest, maintaining the land for fire prevention is considerable. Also, chopping wood to heat this house is also difficult. All those things mean I don't have a ton of time, and I would love to have more of it. All that said, other things to look forward to for 2026. Would like to get down to Los Angeles again. Would like to get to Seattle if possible. But other than that, the trip to Northern Europe is going to take up a considerable amount of my time and energy. Looking forward to that. And I probably will have some other things that I wish I had said, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Mike Roth. I make digital noise under the project name Spallmaker. I've been doing so since around March of 2023. Resolutions for this year. First one that comes to mind, I'm really hoping or wanting to find ways to spend more time listening to music, listening to noise in particular. Just, finding ways to integrate it more into my daily routines and stuff. I feel like over the last year or so, I've had a lot of trouble for whatever reason, just making time for listening to music. I've had this idea I've wanted to do for a while, to maybe structure that in some way, of, potentially getting one album a week or something like that, and spending the whole week with it. Only anytime I'm going to listen to music, or just only put that one album on, even if I, am in the mood maybe for something else. I feel like doing so might help to, find things in certain albums that, with more casual listens, I might not, get to. But yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff going on out there. And I just want to start listening to more music and stuff. I feel like it's just I've been in a bit of a rut of not making time for that, and I really want to change that this coming year. So that's one thing. Another thing is I want to find better ways to connect with people, or make better connections, deeper connections within the noise community. I feel like the way in which I make noise in particular, I don't play live. I do everything through my laptop, and it's a very slow, time intensive process. It's very isolating. And I enjoy doing it that way, but regardless, it has, maybe not it. I think I'm not a very extroverted person to begin with, but I think maybe because of that and several other things, I've just feel like I've had a little bit of trouble coming into the noise community relatively recently. I've had a bit of trouble building connections with people. I don't know if necessarily that I've had trouble with it. I've definitely met a lot of people that have really enjoyed their conversations online and in person, and met a lot of really, really cool, interesting people. And but I definitely want to just start integrating more people into my life who are, share similar interests when it comes to noise and experimental music and cinema, films, and all sorts of different things. But specifically within the noise community, I'm hoping to either to one, deepen a lot of those connections that I've made, but also make quite a few more. I think that's something we all could use right now. In terms of my project, I realized recently that last year I put out, I think it was 5 releases. I didn't really realize that I'd put out that many. Maybe that's not a lot, I don't know, but to me it felt like it was a lot, looking back on it. Most of which were digital only releases. Most of my releases outside of 2 have been digital only. Some people might not necessarily view those as legitimate, full-on releases or whatever. But regardless, that was kind of pretty exciting, or just nice to see how much work I feel like I had put out last year and made. Um, and I'm hoping to just push even harder this year and make even more stuff. I've got, quite a few albums kind of in the works that are halfway done, or I've kind of mostly finished, but have now put on the back burner. One thing I'm hoping to do, I want to figure out some way to get a like a printer that I can start printing artwork onto CDRs, to and maybe a bit of a professional like CD burner, or some kind of way to make like small batch CDRs, that I can hand make art for, and just kind of send out as trades, or share those with people in small ways. I feel like that'd be fun to like make more physical releases in that way. In terms of my actual noise content, one thing I'm hoping to do is really dial in my sound palette. I feel like there's an artist, I can't remember who exactly it was, but there's this quote that's been ringing in my head for a long time that I feel like is a mantra that I kind of try to use for a lot of my art making, which is that I kind of want to just do the same thing over and over again. Um, that subtle variations on that thing, but relatively uh, staying in a single kind of path. And I'm really hoping to find ways. I want to work on finding ways to dial in my sound so that there's a bit more consistency across each release. And I have a few different ways that I'm kind of trying to come up with on how to do that and stuff. But I'm excited to try to work on that. And yeah, I don't know that I really have anything else to say, but I'm excited for 2026. There's a lot of bad, weird shit going on in the world, but artistically and in terms of the noise community and stuff, I'm hoping it's a good one. I'm hoping we all just keep our heads up, stay safe, and look out for each other. So I don't know. Right on.
Hi, Oscar. This is Thomas D'Angelo, TD, here with my noise year resolutions for 2026. Hoping to get a lot done. So first with recordings, I have 3 tapes that should be out fairly soon. Just kind of putting the finishing touches, formatting art, things like that. One of those will be on a new label out of China called Telnia. It just started maybe a year or two ago, run by, hopefully I don't mess up his name, but I believe it is Ziyang Jiang. Super enthusiastic, quite young guy, I believe, who, like I said, has just been doing this label for maybe a year or two now, and that's pretty much set to go. Just need to get him the finished artwork. I have another short tape set for Un Poca Fria, another newer, super active label out of Washington State, I believe, ran by a guy named Corey Calvin, who's a really good project called KP Rougeon. So yeah, excited about that one. Almost done, and then there's full length kind of C40 and some change for More Mars, super underrated label out of Greece, run by a guy named Moros Marios, who's always really active and consistent. I did a tape for him back in 2021 or so, and this is not really related, but it's just another solo tape that I'm pretty proud of. So those should all be out within first quarter 2026 or so. Like I said, they're pretty much done, just finishing up the details. I also have a collab with Seamus Williams, who does the project TVE. It's kind of half-jokingly based on the work of the French Enlightenment philosopher Blaise Pascal, and that stuff's with with Seamus right now. He's kind of putting the finishing touches. I think it'll be sort of like an art book, CD with an art book sort of thing. And yeah, hopefully we should be out first quarter or first half of 2026, something like that. A few more things that are more in like kind of the planning stages. Been working with Duncan Harrison, who runs Adhuman. He came and played some shows on the East Coast and the Midwest last year with myself, Seymour Glass, and Tom Darksmith. We played a few times together and, really liked it. It went well. We work well together, I think. So, we've been talking about doing some collaborations. Definitely one, maybe two things initially. Hopefully an LP that a friend has offered to put out. But again, just a lot of ideas going back and forth, but I don't think either of us have started recording too much for it, but hopefully we'll put a dent in that this year. And a few other things I'd like to get at least a good start on recording wise. I've also been writing a lot. The end of last year, I had a piece come out in the Canadian zine Untitled, sort of a collaborative thing with myself, Ross Hentelef, who does the great project Murmur, Duncan Murphy, who does a lot of really good under the radar stuff, Alone, and he's also was in the project Rotmans with Barrett from Toe Inch Dwelling, and Chris Gibson, the editor of Untitled, did kind of like a four-way essay or collection of related essays on a theme, and I think I would like to do some more for him. I suggested interviewing somebody for the next issue. Chris seems down, so hopefully that comes together. Also just contributed something to the next issue of Mortar, which is a new brand new zine that Jack Davison, who does the website Noise Not Music, has just started putting together. I think there's been one issue so far, and so this will be for issue number 2 that should be coming out within the next few months. So yeah, excited for that. I have a few other things just kind of, in various stages of completion, and, constantly working on sound poetry research that will be published eventually one way or another. Not entirely sure, but continuing to work on that. And and then I guess the last thing for the immediate future would be short kind of weekend tour with Dean, does Robert Fuchs, and Liam Kramer White. Been talking about doing just like a short kind of 3-4 gig weekender some point in the mid to late spring. Play a few shows down the south, maybe as far south as like North Carolina. I see our friend Joe, who did does the project Outdoor Horse Shrine, and moved down there recently, and we're just kind of finalizing the route and the dates and everything, so that should be fun. And I guess that's plenty for now. Hoping to go back to school, grad school in the fall, so just trying to get as much as I can done before then. So yeah, keeping busy. And I think that's it for the immediate future. Thanks, Oscar, for asking me to do this, and I look forward to hearing what everybody else is working on.
Yeah, so this year I actually want to make some noise for the general public. I've been recording stuff in my living room for 20 years, and I have hundreds of hours of stuff that I've recorded, and I think I just never really released any of it because none of it hits the mark for me. I think another problem is like decision paralysis. So, I've got tons of gear. I got like all kinds of just synths and pedals and stuff I built. Piles and piles of homemade pedals, drum machines, noise boxes, shakers, test equipment, boat anchor stuff, and just, I think what I'm going to do is probably pick just 1 or 2 pieces of gear and just practice, and finish something, then get it mastered and do some networking, see if I can't get it on a label, and then just fucking send something for once and don't be so precious about it. Another resolution of mine is I just moved here to Philly from Portland, Maine, and I'd like to go make some friends in Philly around the noise scene. I know there's a pretty vibrant noise and experimental electronic scene around here, so yeah, I'm gonna do that. Then just spend more time getting out and just actively participating in the noise orb.
Negative Output is a 2-day noise festival taking place on July 24th and 25th, 2026 in Manchester, England. Created by 2 friends united by a deep love of noise, the festival was born from a desire to bring something truly special to the UK noise community. Across Friday and Saturday, Negative Output presents an international lineup at the iconic White Hotel, a program that serves as a mission statement for what Negative Output is now and where it's headed in the years to come. Featuring 23 sets over 2 days, with artists from 7 different countries, the festival includes many rare and special performances not to be missed, including The Rita, Black Leather Jesus, Vomir, Threesome Slitting, Parasite Nurse, Size Effects, Slit Throats, Hypertrophy, The Gloria, Svartfit, Gutter Carrion, Sword of Damocles, Knifed Out Existence, Pale World and Gviactor, Pink Thistle, Distraxi, Fisting, Lucifer Sky, Flesh Liquor, October Prowler, A Thing Woven, Creep of Paris, and Petrichor. That's July 24th and 25th in Manchester. Tickets available via Resident Advisor.
Hey everybody, this is Anthony from Hypertrophy, and I've got 3 noise resolutions for you. First is to maintain momentum. I've done quite a lot with this project over the last 6 years, especially in the last 2, and I want to maintain that kind of pace of activity of playing shows in other countries, and recording a lot and releasing a lot. So I already have a couple splits lined up for this year, and I have a couple solo albums that I'm working on. And then that brings us to resolution number 2, which is that I want to collaborate a lot this year. I have about half a dozen people that I've talked to about collaborations, and I don't expect all of those to arrive this year. That would be quite a lot of work, but I want to make significant progress on all of those collaborations this year, and hopefully we can see a couple of them release. My third resolution is to find something new, which is that I have been doing a very similar process for the last several years, and I don't know what shape that'll take of changing that, but while everything I'm doing is working for the project now, I feel like it would be a good idea to find some new angle of attack before the methods I'm using now grow stale to me. So I look forward to figuring that out. I've got a couple angles that I'm going to explore, but that one's the open-ended one where there's sort of just I'll know it when it happens. So thanks everybody. Stay warm, and see you in Ohio and the UK and Poland and Canada and Texas this year. And get your reps in.
Hey, my name's Mark. currently out in Colorado in the Springs area. Noise resolutions. I just started a new label called American Isolation Front. It's going to be focusing on drone, experimental, ambient, death industrial stuff. A little less on the harsh side, but still pretty fun, pretty solid material I'm getting from everybody so far. I have a limited run page up for all of that for physicals. There's an MPW release coming on Immorality Crown at some point in 2026 as well that I put a lot of work into over the last couple of years, and hope people dig it. Trying to put out a 12-inch or two. Never done that before. But I think biggest goal is living down here in the southwest of the states. Trying to go play more shows, like hit the road a little bit more. I got 3-day weekends with my new job, so just trying to go down to like New Mexico and Texas and the other side of the Rockies, just start playing a bunch of places I have never been or haven't played a show in at least. I really like traveling, so that's probably going to be my biggest goal for noise, is just to go do noise places I haven't. But yeah, I hope everyone else has a good time this year. Fuck ICE and all these horrible ass fascist turds in this country, and yeah.
Hello, White Centipede Noise Patreon supporters. My name's Tristan. I run Minimal Impact, a primarily recycled tape label, and have done so for, been going for approximately 10 years, just shy of 10 years now. My 2026 noise resolutions really just to do a bit more than what I did last year. So 2025 was a relatively quiet year for me. Like most people, when your personal lives get a little bit chaotic, the first thing to go is the noise project or the label, right? So I guess if I was to sum up the 2026 goals or things I'm wanting to work towards, traveling for noise would be one, solidifying my contacts and working a bit closer with some people, as well as just kind of like a general follow through with my own recording projects. So this call out's kind of come at a bit of a good time for me anyway. I mean, I've been always working on stuff, right? There's always something in the pipeline, but I've just gotten back from Melbourne seeing Linecraft and all the supporting acts there, which was fantastic. People I've been talking to on and off for several years. Only met maybe a few times in person, but always good to actually meet people and talk about the stuff that you talk about. So yeah, there's a few shows in the pipeline. Label wise though, Minimal Impact has just stepped into the vinyl game, so I've put out 2 7-inches. Currently finishing off the packaging for the Empty Vessel and No Guard 7-inch split. What else have I got? Works in progress. Literally currently right now surrounded by collage material. This is one of the many spaces I've worked out of. This is just a backyard shed, probably about 30 or more degrees, 35 degrees or something currently. So yeah, definitely adds to the drive for making things. Works in progress. There's a new Puddle C60 which has been recorded with Dan. We did several sessions for those. I've really just cut down to the best bits. Currently working on the collage as we speak. I've been again, been working on it for weeks and weeks, but I guess there's kind of something else I've wanted to do is just kind of really suss out what the role of a label, what my role as a label guy should be. Collaboration's really the meeting the artist's expectation is something I really want to do more for. Really want to do just better with that because it's one of those things you do but you don't. Every release is different, etc., etc. There's also several things I probably shouldn't announce just yet. There's an anonymous Muay Thai themed Harsh Noise release, which I've got some really strong art for already. There's a couple of other split tapes, a Paraelectronics and Industrial compilation, which may or may not see the light of day now. It's possibly going to be 2 compilations depending on the length of some of the final tracks that I've got to get. We'll see if it happens. I guess just reflecting also on the impetus for starting a label that really was to begin with about having a platform for my own stuff. So again, a focus on finishing off all those recording projects that get half done. I think that's going to be the theme of the year is finishing the projects, right? In noise and outside of noise. So I'm currently recording and performing as Sharps Formation, which is a project meant to, I guess, encapsulate and leverage all the techniques and whatever else I've kind of been working on since I've started making noise. It's that was part of the problem I kept running into, is that I was getting very segmenting things and compartmentalizing things probably a bit too much. So this is just the new thing. Put out the first proper tape on Divine Severance out of Whyalla in South Australia, which was a great process, great leaping off point. I've currently got the next, I think it's a C40 or C60 recorded. So I'll be running off a few home dub copies of that to bring to Europe with me in March. I've got at least one date lined up there. I'm going over for personal reasons and just wanted to kind of do 1 or 2 shows while I was over there anyway, just to, leverage opportunity or whatever. There's at least another 2 recording projects to do with that, and then jumping back into my old industrial noise project will be possibly on the cards as well. There's at least 2 half-ton projects there that we haven't fully realized yet, so that's also on the cards. So the other thing to bring up in terms of following through is bringing up a few interstate people to Brisbane. Anyone that's aware of how relatively big the country is, it's not exactly easy to get to or get between capital cities for touring. It's just a bit of a more difficult thing to justify financially sometimes. Travel's not always super cheap, or as accommodation can be, but flights etc. aren't really cheap. You can drive around. Cost of living is a huge discussion just broadly in Australia currently, so it's always been part of an issue. But bring a few people up from interstate. I had a date booked in February to do a large show / mini fest kind of vibe, but didn't end up working for some of the interstate people I did want to bring up. So that'll be a later 2026. That'll be a later 2026 thing.
So here are my resolutions for 2026. I usually make a loose list of resolutions, things I want to just continue to work on in my life. and they are pretty inseparable in many ways from what I do here with White Centipede Noise. I will have some new releases this year for sure. There's a handful of CDs in the works, hopefully mid-year, but that can be subject to change. I do hope to have a new Wince album finished this year. I have a concept that I'm developing. It requires a lot of source material. I'm setting up a permanent studio, table setup here, which I haven't had for some reason for a long time, in order so that I can, on a regular basis when I'm here working, just at least practice, if not record, and get back into the practice of making noise, which, I came into all this as an artist, 15 to 20 years ago. And that has been on the back burner for years now, in favor of label, podcast, distro stuff, kind of the more, administrative things, which was never really my intention. And at some point, you got to consider what you actually are. If you're an artist, you have to be making art. Years go by, and if you're really not doing it very often, you're going to start questioning that. So I really, really want to bring that back into my life. Part of that intention of practice also has to do with playing a show, at least one show this year. I was invited to play Crude Transmissions, which I'm very appreciative of and really like that festival, and Jim, how he does that. So I said yes, basically because like I said, I appreciate the offer and I appreciate the festival and like it a lot and would love to be a part of it, but it also serves as a motivator to work, to create something, to practice, because getting on stage and playing in front of a bunch of people with a bunch of artists who are very much entrenched in playing and their artistry. I can't just show up as someone who hasn't been actively practicing and creating. So that's part of the training method, I guess, for the next couple months, is to prepare for that show, but also use that energy towards an album. What Mike said about listening to noise, it's also a conscious resolution of mine. I actually don't listen to noise as much as I would like to or should, considering that I run a label, a distro, and a podcast. A great deal that has to do with the fact that a podcast episode, like maybe a 2-hour conversation, like the one that's going to come out next week, that takes me 4 or 5 days to sort through, pass through, edit down. There's a lot of post-production that goes into that. And during that time, I can't have music on in the background. I can't have noise on in the background. So it's one thing when I'm around doing orders and whatever else, but if I'm working on the podcast, there's really no room for listening to noise as I normally would. So I need to find a way to bring that up in my daily life, weekly life at least. I also want to be more kind of slow down my mind, or organize my mind a little bit in terms of how I work and nurture and keep up with one-on-one contact and communication more than I have in the past. I feel like the last year I just was a blur. I feel like I let so much slip through the cracks when it comes to just normal communication and exchange with artists and colleagues and friends. And part of that, I think, is that I am going to be stepping away from a lot of social media contact, because that kind of just skews my attention, and it's just too much at one time. So being able to focus on emails and write back and forth with people properly without trying to answer every single message, not that I really do, but that's another thing, is like, it's at the same time letting things slide, letting certain communications slide or fall through the cracks if they need to, just kind of having to pick and choose what I devote proper time to and attention to, and some things that I just can't, so that and the people that I need to communicate with or really want to don't also get left in the in the hang for long periods of time. I don't like that. Of course, I'm going to stay committed to the regular podcast schedule, try to put an episode out every other week, a public episode and a Patreon episode on the alternating weeks. Usually I'm pretty good about that. Once in a while, due to, I don't know, family sickness or something coming up, or sometimes just needing a little break and reset, I'll take a couple weeks off. But I've been pretty consistent with that, but I really want to stick with that and keep the quality up. Continue to let this podcast be something that is for everyone to, amplify and serve noise in its widest sense. Promote the discussion of it, promote the understanding of it, promote the creation of it, promote the community that surrounds it. In a very wide and open sense. Part of that, I think, is also working on not taking things personally, removing my ego from it as much as I can. Sometimes when I'm watching, when you do this regularly and it means so much to you and you put so much into it and you're watching, too closely on a regular basis, the ups and downs of, I don't know, people's reactions to it or their lack of reactions to it, or, comments, occasional, hate mail or negative comments. It can be exhausting and disheartening. And I just need to remember to step back from that. Let it be. It's not about me. It's about this bigger thing. So if people are going to engage in it or not in any way, I can't micro focus on that and just let it just detach myself from it a bit, because that can be a problem sometimes. I think it's something that I handle fairly well, but it's not always easy. I also feel like preserving the openness and kind of disjointed unity of this community is very important with this podcast, and that's something that is increasingly challenging for me personally as things heat up politically, as things break down politically and socially around the world. Noise has a very unique quality to it, that it's not punk rock, it's not sloganeering. It attracts people, it attracts me because of its ambiguity and open-endedness, and attracts a lot of ideologies and worldviews that are hard to stomach and that, you want to oppose in real life. And reconciling that with, people you respect as artists, become friends with, or, acquaintances with, and reconciling their political beliefs or worldviews or personalities or attitudes towards life that you find very destructive or hostile, and still finding a way to hold that respect and unity together in some way is a hard line to, hard balancing beam to maintain. And I'm committed to keeping it that way. I'm not going to shun or cut off friends or people that I am involved with or communicate with, but I'm also not going to shy away from politics or my views or my personal life, doing what I think is right and speaking up about things that I think need to happen. And I'm not going to hide that or share that or shy away from that in order to preserve harmony or continue support, because that's another reality, is that I need support. I need support of a wide range, a wide coalition of people in the scene to be able to do this, and rocking the boat in ways that affect certain people whittles away at that. And I just can't be afraid of that, but I also don't want to turn noise into something that has to be one-sided or very clear. But when shit's going down, that stuff sort of has, action has to take place. So if we're talking about politics, Romer says stay angry. I don't believe in staying angry. I believe in channeling anger into compassionate and intelligent action for the benefit of all. That's the most important thing ultimately right now in the world. I'm not going to cling to some sort of false sense of unity in noise or this podcast or whatever, if life demands other things. There's another year left on the lease here, and I'm going to continue on and carry on. And if it's not feasible or doesn't make sense to continue on focusing on this, with my life and focusing on other things, then that's what I'll do. So that is just my general outlook on 2026. I appreciate anyone who watches and listens to this for whatever reason. I want to sincerely thank anyone who supports this on Patreon. It's because of you that this is possible, and it's because of you that this will continue to be possible. If you'd like to support this, you can go to patreon.com/whitecentipedeNoise, and you'll get access to the full versions of all the episodes that I put out, as well as the episodes I put out only on Patreon on alternating weeks. Thank you for watching, listening, and take care.